Hey all, in my last video I covered how to start your link analysis for the due diligence process for a potential acquisition, and I ended with a recommendation on rolling up the link profile for the site that you're looking at by link building tactic. Now, I didn't go super deep into each individual tactic just because I think it deserves its own video, and that's what we have today. So we're going to go over some good and bad characteristics for what a link likely should look like for a high quality acquisition, again, dependent on your risk profile and really what you're looking for. And also some common link building strategies and tactics that you'll see in the landscape and how you can spot them, characterize them, and group them in a link profile and really understand how that potentially introduces risks or opportunities in the link profile for the site that you're looking at. So we're going to dive in with some good and potentially bad qualities of what a link should look like. So if y'all have seen some of my content analysis videos, you know I love a good eye test and really pairing that with the metrics and data that you pull during the due diligence process to get a complete view of a site that you're looking to buy. And the same goes for link analysis. So these are some of the characteristics that I typically look for in a good link. And like I said earlier, it really just depends on your risk profile. So make sure to get with your team on the types of sites that you're looking for and make sure that your link profile analysis really matches up with the strategy that you're looking to execute against as a business. But with that being said, these are generally some of the characteristics that I look for when assessing quality links. Starting off with just looking like the links belong on the page. So here's an example on the right-hand side here. It seems really simple and straightforward, but oftentimes good links are exactly that. So this is an example from an Investopedia article that's linking to a survey that's done by Bankrate.com, really huge affiliate website owned by Red Ventures, but they have hundreds of thousands of linking root domains, and a lot of them are just really natural citations of their content. So you can see here, this is a works cited or an article sources section on an Investopedia article. It looks like it belongs on the page because it is specifically referencing or a citation of a reference that the author included within the article. So it is very journalistic in nature and just looks like it belongs on the page. Secondly, I'll look for natural anchor text. So this is just a nutrition and food blog that's linking to an article on Dr. Axe. But you can see here, if you read the specific anchor text, that it is referencing information off of Dr. Axe's article on the benefits of wheat berries. So this again looks like a citation, just a different placement since this link is in the middle of the article. But it seems really natural and it adds value to the page and it seems like it is a reference again to specific information on the page that they're linking to and adds value, seems really natural on the page. And if we go back to my previous video on link analysis, over-optimized anchor text, one of the most classic signals of over-optimization, and using a lot of exact match keywords in there can get you dinged really easily. This is a really good example of just pulling information off of the page they're referencing and using that as the anchor text. Third, I'll look for links that are on pages and sites that are relevant to the core topics. This also seems obvious, but in general, you're going to get more power, all else things being equal, from a site that's related to the category and niche that you're in versus one that is unrelated. So again, a little bit obvious, but an important part of the eye test here, and important to keep in mind to not get too enamored with overall domain authority. Even though that is an important signal, it's not all about the metrics when you're looking at what a quality link is and isn't. So this is just an example from The Athletic, a really popular sports journalism blog that's linking to the Hoops Geek, which is a small basketball affiliate website that does a lot of shoe reviews, a lot of content on like how to dunk and things like that. But great little site and a really strong reference to their review content on this site. They go super in depth on every single product or shoe that they review, and The Athletic felt comfortable enough linking to it on an article about Giannis. I think the Athletic actually just got bought by New York Times too, so more action in the M&A space. Fourth, I'll look and see, are the links from real teams and businesses? Is this a real site with an editorial team behind it or with a business behind it that seems like it actually has some experience and thought behind who they work with, who they interact with, who they link to on their articles. Here's an example from the Lowe's blog that did a collaboration with Kevin at Epic Gardening, which is a popular affiliate site in that niche, who recently got an investment, and they've been doubling down on a lot of stuff, which has been super exciting for them. But a really good example of just like doing, real business things, right? And actually getting links from sites that have teams and businesses behind them versus like the example that I gave in my previous link analysis video, and I'll give you some more examples here in a minute, sites that aren't really run by anybody and purely exist to link out to other sites for a lot of paid link placements. And then lastly, I think just asking yourself, does this link add value to the page? Is it something that is going to make sense? And also, like, if it isn't there, is the page worse off? So here's an example from SoFi in their blog on things about renting out an Airbnb. They have a specific section on learning how to price your property right. This is a big segment in this space for folks who own a lot of Airbnbs and need tools to be able to do maintenance, price their property appropriately, know how to take good photos and things like that. AirDNA is a really popular platform for managing a lot of that stuff. And they have a calculator to determine what you should pay, what you should charge for your specific Airbnb property. Now, this is a link within this specific section on how to price a property right. If that calculator is not there and that link isn't there, it actually kind of degrades the value of this specific section of the article. So the best possible links are going to be ones that add value to the page. So when you're looking at links, dissecting a backlink profile and looking at different link building tactics, which we'll go over in a minute, ask yourself these questions around if it looks like it belongs and all of these other criteria to determine what are the best possible links that are in this link profile. Do a lot of the links have these characteristics? If so, that may make you a little bit more bullish on the long-term sustainability of the link profile. And if not, maybe you're a little bit more bearish because of the risk associated with some of those links potentially not holding value long-term. On the flip side, also want to just give you some examples of bad links, which are often just the juxtaposition of the characteristics that I just mentioned. So instead of a link looking like it belongs, bad links are often ones that are forced into the page that don't really make a ton of sense. This is an example from Realty Times, where if you look at the anchor text, it's a little hard to see. You can see here that the anchor text is Locksmith Plus Inc., Everett, Washington. That's definitely forced on this article that is about upgrading your home security system with a locksmith, right? Not really a super locally focused article. Clearly, this link is paid and very forced in the article, doesn't add value to the page. So these links are pretty clear to spot if they aren't done super well. And people who place them don't really know what they're doing. Similar or juxtaposition to the anchor text comment around it being natural. Overuse of keywords in the anchor text. I went over this in my last video, but really hammering your exact match keywords in your anchor text is a classic over-optimization signal, and if you do it often enough, is probably going to get you dinged and have a negative impact on your traffic at some point. Not necessarily saying that's going to happen immediately, but it is going to introduce more risk into the link profile. So here's another example of that for a travel-related article on another very, I'd say well-known, but I guess in smaller SEO circles, blog that purely exists for paid link placements. Third, are they on irrelevant or random sites? So juxtapositioning that example on The Athletic, linking to the Hoops Geek. We have a blog here called SaveDelete.com that literally writes about everything under the sun. So you can see in their footer all the different topics that they write about. Now there's a lot of really broad newspapers and blogs out there that do cover a lot of different topics, but I think these lower quality ones are pretty easy to spot out just by looking at the most recent articles that they've posted that you can typically see through their homepage feed, see what percentage of those are paid link placements that are really forced, seem super obvious, and do they have kind of a real editorial team behind them? And similarly, are they getting, for whatever site that you're looking at, links from a lot of sites that maybe they don't cover a huge swath of topics, but are just on an irrelevant site, and the post that is linking to the site that you're looking at seems pretty random and doesn't really fit with the overall theme of the site. That can certainly be a red flag in the link profile, likely something that isn't passing a ton of value today, but if there's enough of those, it could also send some more toxic signals into the link profile. Fourth, are you finding links on sites that are primarily publishing paid guest posts and links? So I've already given some examples on that, so I won't go super deep into it, but again, going to that homepage feed, looking at some of the more recent articles published and seeing if they're paid. These are generally pretty obvious to spot, but there are actually a good amount of blacklists and things like that out there that folks have been collecting around a lot of these sites that are kind of known guest posting farms or paid link farms, so to speak. Shane Ducka has a really good blacklist, so shout out Shane. You can go to his website and I believe download it for free if you leave your email. So anyways, good cross-check there, but making sure that the site that you're looking at doesn't have a huge portion of their link profile that is a lot of these paid link placements. So I don't have an example for this last characteristic, but this is really all about leaving obvious footprints. So do they have a ton of guest posts that are written by the same author? Do they overuse the same exact match keyword anchor text across a ton of different links? Signals like that leave very easy footprints to follow within the link profile and introduce additional risk when you're looking at potentially acquiring the site. All right, so I want to dive into some common link building tactics that you'll see out in the market to help characterize and group the link profile for whatever site that you're doing due diligence on. Now, this isn't meant to be a completely exhaustive list on every single way that you can build links, nor is it a playbook for how to build these links. It's merely to provide some examples of how to spot these and really understand the diversity that exists within the link profile that you're analyzing. Generally, I like to see sites that are doing a lot of different sustainable link building strategies, so they're not overexposed in any single one of those if a search engine potentially devalues those types of links at any point in the future. Having a large diversity of link types is going to help keep you protected, I think, more long term. Obviously, you want to dig in and see if those are quality link building tactics, and look at other points of risk within the link profile. But generally, diversity is great here, similar to diversity of anchor text and things like that. So just a few examples here, starting off with resource pages. This is a really common link building tactic because it's a really obvious footprint across the web where you can look for essentially pages that are purely existing to link out to other resources or pages across the web. Here's an example from Illinois.gov. They pretty much every government and municipality site across the US has a lot of these new resident pages where they're just providing resources on services around the local area and things like that. And sometimes we'll link out to other non-government third-party websites. So this is a link type that I've crushed for a long time, not just in home services on government and municipality websites, but you can find these in pretty much any niche. So an easy way to spot these within a link profile is just doing some simple filtering in a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush. So I'll give you an example here on nerdwallet.com. If you just go up here and then select referring page title, and then you can just throw in keywords like links and resources. And then we're going to adjust that to say any, so it's links or resources. And then you can see a filtered list of all of the types of links that are pointing in. Looks like it didn't grab any. There we go. I was like, 15? That's not right. So that's more like it. So this is a filtered list of a lot of these styles of links and resources pages. It's not going to capture all of them because not all of them share this exact keyword footprint or web footprint, but you'll find a lot of these styles of links, and you'll often pick up a lot of the other commonalities, especially if it differs by category or niche, which it sometimes does, on how to spot a lot of these pages that are purely just like external link pages or resource pages. So just to give you an example of one, let's see. How about this one? So we are going to San Mateo County Community College, and their resources page. You can see that they have one for renters that lists a bunch of different tools that you can use as a renter to search for apartments and things like that, but also some helpful articles for things like rent calculators, true cost of rent, things like that. So really easy to spot these types of footprints, and a good way to kind of characterize or categorize that portion of link profile, see how much it makes up of the overall number of linking root domains and total backlinks that are pointing into a site, and really understand what is the link profile makeup of whatever site that you're analyzing. So outside of resource pages, some other link building tactics to look out for, real PR. So again, kind of going back to the example of just doing like real business shit. This is obviously going to be stuff that is more press releasey or news articles that are often going to have links to the homepage of the site that it features or the business that it features, but these can be good quality kind of base links to have on a site, especially if the site that you're looking at acquiring is actually doing real things to get real press. This can be, a good solid foundational link within a link profile. It's obviously not going to link to probably your most transactional or monetizable pages within the site, but good kind of just base foundational links to pointing into the homepage. So you'll often see this with a lot of sites that you're looking at. Haro is another popular strategy. So, I threw in Haro as the example here, but there's a ton of other ones as well where essentially they're just platforms for reporters and journalists to get and source experts on specific topics. So they're like, I need a doctor to comment on X, Y, or Z for an upcoming article that I'm writing. It's like that type of stuff. This is a really popular link building tactic for a lot of SEO savvy organizations and website builders, and so you'll often see this in a link profile for a site that you're analyzing. This is an example from CNET on the right hand side here. You can see the site Pest Strategies, which shout out to Shane Dutka again. This was a site that he sold for 7 figures a few years ago, but he takes advantage of this strategy a lot to get really solid homepage links from relevant sites around relevant topics that he covers. And so you'll often see these as homepage links, but you can look for like author names, look for branded anchor text within the link profile, and you can use that to kind of categorize these types of link building tactics when you're doing that link analysis. Gimmicky campaigns, I say gimmicky just because I'll explain in a second, but these are essentially just campaigns that are sort of related to the main topic or thing that the site does, but generally and oftentimes doesn't really have a ton of lasting business value for however the company or the site acquires customers or rings the cash register, so to speak. So this is an example from onlinecasino.ca. There was a well-known PR agency that did a big campaign for them, basically just visualizing like what a future gamer looks like if they don't take care of themselves. So not incredibly relevant for getting new customers to onlinecasino.ca and, converting in however, which way that they convert, but it does get links from, news and kind of general authority websites that maybe are on a slow news day and have some additional things to cover that their audience would potentially be interested in. I think the relevancy of these, it seems to work decently well in a lot of instances these days. I'm not sure about the lasting value of these types of links, especially with just, different ways of approaching it. I think there's really good ways of approaching digital PR and some of this, kind of more large-scale content marketing campaigns that can have really good lasting value for a site. And there's also ones where you're going to get links from 100 different news outlets and radio stations, And, maybe it provides some benefit, short, medium, long term, who knows? I guess it depends on the execution of that campaign. But I'm not like incredibly bullish on the long-term business value of a lot of these types of links. But generally, you'll find a lot of these in different link profiles. This is just one example. There's a lot of other folks who will be launch campaigns like, we'll pay you $1,000 to watch 50 hours of Netflix and fill out this survey or something like that. That a lot of, local news organizations like to pick up, things like that. But generally, you'll find these a lot in the link profile. I'd say if this is the large majority of links that are pointing into a site, that might introduce a little bit more risk. Granted, risk is all relative, so it might be safer than something that has a lot of links from a lot of guest posts that are on sites from that really just purely post articles that are paid links, like I've given many examples before. But generally, look out for this style of link, categorize it within your link profile analysis, and really just assess you and your team's appetite for risk on how much of this link type the overall profile is, and the quality of the campaigns or links that are pointing into them, where those are coming from. Are they coming from industry publications or general news publications? Things like that can help you assess risk here. Ego bait, also really popular. So this is really just kind of stroking the ego of whatever company that you're featuring on a page. So oftentimes this is a really popular tactic for getting links to money pages or, really commercial pages like a best of roundup or a review. You can see here an example from Puffy, which is a mattress manufacturer that features all of the different publications that rank them in their best of lists or write reviews on them that are favorable. So getting a link from their awards page is a good way to get kind of an industry relevant link, especially to a very monetizable page, but oftentimes that is a very popular link building tactic to get links from brands and also kind of deepen relationships with them too and things like that. I'd say this is more of what I would call a more applicable strategy for ego bait. There's also other types of ego bait that essentially are geared towards other organizations or other audiences, so to speak, right? So, it could be the brands that you feature on your website and do reviews on, or it could be like a local ego bait as an example, like somebody scrapes Google Trends and does, here are the best and worst states for XYZ. That type of stuff, I think, can be okay, especially in the local example. If you rely a lot on more localized search volume, you can get links from different local organizations pointing into your site, which can potentially help you rank in those areas and drive a lot of local relevancy. But it really just depends on the type of ego bait that it is, but you'll often see this for links that are pointing into highly monetizable content or some more similar to gimmicky campaign type content, more listicle type stuff like best and worst XYZ for blank. So anyways, you can look out for those, characterize and categorize those within your link profile, and make sure that that's not a huge portion of your links. Granted, all up to your own risk profile, so judge accordingly. Directories are also often popular. You'll see these, especially for a lot of more locally focused websites or service-focused websites. There's an example, I think a high-quality example from Psychology Today that features therapists all over the country. And so each of these individual profile pages links out to the therapist's practice. And so obviously a kind of different style of example here that can be good and bad directories, but really just understand, are those directories industry relevant? Do they seem like they have kind of a real, team behind them and are generally decent industry publications to get links on? Already went over guest posts, but I think there are such things as high quality guest posts. Ian Howells does a good talk with ClearScope on the difference, I think, between low quality and high quality guest posts. So go and check that out. Here's an example of one that I think is higher quality, where it's clearly written by somebody who is at the organization that is linking, that they are linking to in the article, but it's really featuring a product or a piece of data that is directly related to the topic that they wrote the article, or excuse me, the topic for the site that they featured it on, and are potentially getting customers or new audience from this post. So I think good example there, if you have other really good reasons for doing a guest post on a site besides getting link value, like potentially getting business referrals or new customers, great excuse to do a guest post. Just don't make it like a huge portion of your link profile or count on those links really passing any value. And then the last strategy I'll cover is link magnets. So this is essentially just content that can naturally attract links. So these are things like calculators, stats and facts pages, really hyper-specific informational articles where essentially a lot of the folks who are searching for that content are people who are writing articles or journalists or reporters who are looking for citations or things to link to help them bolster whatever they're writing or provide a lot of factual evidence. So these can be really, really good for just naturally attracting links to your site. I generally find that some of the higher quality sites that I see for potential acquisition have a decent amount of these. Granted, they have to be relevant. So going back to our good and bad characteristics of links, making sure that those topics that they're writing about are relevant and that they're getting placed on relevant sites. But these can really help you naturally get a lot of links over time without having to send a single email. Now, there may be some more competitive spaces where you kind of got to grease the wheels a little bit, do a little bit of outreach on the front end to get that page onto page one for the terms that those journalists and reporters are searching. But generally, these are pretty high quality links, and one, I think if you build enough momentum on this link type and others that can just naturally attract links over time, that helps you increase your link velocity and potentially either extends your lead versus the competition or helps extend it, or helps you close the gap in terms of link velocity between you and your competitors. So these are just a few of the link building tactics to look out for. Like I said, make sure to dive into each one of these within the link profile for the site that you're analyzing and really bucket them to understand, is the link profile really diversified? Are they potentially overexposed in any single one of these? And are there links that you're really comfortable with that, again, you want to double down on? Like I said in the last video, are there links that are fine and you want to keep going in terms of maintenance mode? Or are there ones where you're like, yeah, I don't really love that, and you want to kill immediately post-acquisition, or potentially just pull back on that tactic, or not even buy the site at all because it introduces a lot of risk. So let me know if you have any questions on link analysis. I'll have some more videos on some more specific topics around this area soon as well. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.